She replied every morning, until one day she didn't. No fight, no drama, no long goodbye, just silence. And that silence, it didn't scream, it didn't slam the door, it simply erased you. It's strange, isn't it? How something as small as a good morning can mean everything or nothing. One day it makes you feel like you're seen, like you matter. The next, it floats out into the void, and you don't even get a scene. But here's the thing, you didn't say anything wrong. You were kind, consistent, thoughtful. You played by the rules, and still she pulled away. Maybe you told yourself she was busy. Maybe you gave it a day, then another, but deep down, you knew it. You were slowly becoming invisible, because it's never just about the words, it's the energy behind them. And when that energy says, please, see me, instead of, I see you, she feels it. And she walks. Carl Jung once said, people don't see you as you are, they see you as they are, projected onto you. So what if, every time you said good morning, what she really heard was your fear of not being enough? If that stings, good, stay with me. Because we're going to unpack why most men over 50 get ghosted, even when they mean well. And more importantly, how to speak from your soul, not just your screen. You know, after 50, mornings hit different. It's not just the light that feels colder. It's the quiet. The kids are grown. The house isn't messy anymore, but it's not alive either. The kitchen stays clean. Not because someone cleaned it, but because no one touched it. The silence in the hallway, it doesn't whisper peace. It echoes distance. You don't text her good morning because it's cute. You text her because something in you is still reaching, still hoping, still wanting to be seen. And maybe, just maybe, to feel alive again. No one teaches us this as men. We're raised on a code: work hard, don't complain, protect, provide, push through. And for decades that worked. That made sense. You paid the bills. You stayed loyal. You were the rock. But you know what no one told you? That being the rock also made you hard to hold. See, the world changed. Women changed. They don't just want stability anymore. They want presence, emotion. A man who doesn't just show up, but shows himself. And that's where most of us get stuck, because we spent a lifetime being good men, but not emotionally available men. We think being quiet is strong. We think saying less proves control. But to her it reads like distance, like absence. Like we're not there even when we're sitting right next to her. So when you send that morning message, maybe it's not routine. Maybe it's your soul knocking gently, asking, is anyone still out there to feel me? And maybe the real question isn't, why didn't she reply? It's, have you ever truly shown her who you are? David is 56. He's got silver in his hair, a quiet way of walking, and a laugh that sounds like it used to be louder. Once, he was married for 28 years. 28. That's longer than some people have even been alive. He raised kids, paid mortgages, did what a man's supposed to do. He didn't cheat, he didn't drink, he wasn't abusive, he just stopped being seen, not by choice, but by habit. The marriage didn't end with a blowout or betrayal. It ended like most long relationships do, quietly, slowly. Two people in the same house, moving around each other like ghosts. No fighting, no passion, just dishes, bills, silence. And one morning, David came down to the kitchen and found a note by the coffee maker. It simply said, I can't do this anymore. I need to feel something again. She didn't hate him. She just couldn't feel him anymore. Fast forward a year. David's now divorced, living in a small apartment with too much space. He spends his evenings making frozen meals and pretending he's not lonely. Then, one day, through a friend of a friend, he meets someone. Her name's Eleanor. She's soft-spoken, she laughs with her eyes, and she asks real questions, the kind that make you remember you still have something to say. They talk for an hour over coffee. He hasn't smiled like that in years. That night he goes home and stares at his phone, and for the first time in forever he feels hopeful. So the next morning he types out a message. Good morning, hope you slept well, she replies. Simple, but sweet. So he keeps going. The next day, just wanted to wish you a beautiful day. She replies again and again, and suddenly it becomes a ritual. Every morning he sends her something gentle, kind, respectful. He doesn't flirt too hard. He doesn't pressure. He's just showing up every day, rain or shine. But then something shifts. One day, he sends the same warm message, no reply. Maybe she was busy, he thinks. He waits. The next morning, he tries again. Still nothing. 3 days go by. 5. A week. He checks the message. It's been seen, but never answered. And then comes the pit in the stomach, that old familiar sting, the one you thought you left behind in your 20s, the one that says you're not worth responding to. David tells himself all the rational things. She's probably overwhelmed. Maybe she got scared. Maybe she just met someone else. But late one night, sitting on his couch, staring at the little blue bubble that never turned into 3 dots, he finally says out loud, "I wasn't trying to impress her. I was just trying not to disappear again." And in that sentence was the whole truth. He wasn't chasing love. He was chasing proof that he still existed, that someone out there saw him, that after a marriage where he faded slowly, he could still be felt by someone. But here's the hard part. David didn't disappear when she stopped replying. He disappeared long before that. Not from the conversation, but from himself. You see, his messages were kind, yes, but they were also careful, safe, predictable. He sent them not from a place of grounded confidence, but from quiet desperation. He wasn't saying, "Here I am." He was whispering, "Please don't forget me." And women, especially women who've lived long enough to trust their intuition, they don't respond to the words. They respond to the energy beneath the words. They can feel when a man is fully present, and when he's using kindness to cover emptiness. That's the part David didn't know, and maybe the part you didn't either. So why did David's messages, so kind, so consistent, so well-meaning, quietly push her away? Why do so many men, good men, get ghosted, ignored, forgotten after doing what they thought was the right thing? The answer is uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because the truth is, being kind isn't the same as being connected, and a woman, especially one who's emotionally aware, can feel the difference between the two almost instantly. Let me show you how. There are 4 types of nice guy messages that men often send. They sound good on the surface, but underneath, they carry energy that doesn't land well, and if you've ever been left on read, chances are you've used at least one of these. First, the polite placeholder. It's the classic. "Good morning. Hope you slept well. Wishing you a great day." It's respectful, polite, neutral, but it doesn't stir anything. It's emotionally flat. It feels like a transaction, not a connection. It's like handing someone a greeting card without signing your name. Second, the overgiver. This one sounds like, "Just thinking of you. You're amazing. Hope you know that." It's warm, yes, but it gives away everything, not too soon, too easily. It sends a message underneath the message. "I already chose you. You don't have to choose me back." And while that might feel generous, it actually removes any sense of tension, intrigue, or balance, because you're not building connection, you're offering devotion before there's emotional foundation. Third, the apologizer. "Good morning. Sorry if I'm bothering." You'd hope it's okay to say hi. This is the most subtle and the most damaging. It communicates, "I don't believe I'm wanted here, but I'm trying anyway." And no matter how sweet it sounds, that energy puts pressure on the other person to validate your presence instead of feeling drawn to it. And finally, the repetition trap, where the same message is sent day after day. "Hope your day is going well. Thinking of you. Just checking in." It becomes routine, predictable, empty. And in relationships, predictability without emotional substance feels like emotional background noise. It's not wrong. It's just not felt. So here's what John Gottman, one of the world's most respected relationship psychologists, teaches us. What creates emotional connection is not what you say. It's what the other person feels when you say it. Your message could be perfect on paper, but if it carries the energy of fear, of doubt, of longing, she will feel that, because women, especially those who've been through life, love, loss, don't just read your words, they read your energy. Now, let's go deeper. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, taught that beneath every action we take, there are unconscious forces shaping the way we show up in the world. And in relationships, those forces often take three powerful forms: projection, persona, shadow. Let's start with projection. This is when we don't just express ourselves. We place our unmet needs onto someone else and expect them to fix it. You text, "Hope your day is beautiful." But what you really mean is, "I hope I still matter to you. I hope you'll respond so I don't feel invisible again." You're not connecting. You're outsourcing your sense of worth to her reply. Then there's the persona, the mask we wear to be liked, accepted, admired. It's the polished version of you, the agreeable man, the safe choice, the dependable one. But in that safety, there's often a loss of truth. You're not showing her who you are, you're showing her who you think she wants you to be. And as Jung said, the persona is a system of behavior, not your soul. And then there's the shadow, the part of you that you don't want her to see, the part that feels unworthy, too emotional, too needy, too forgotten. So what do? We cover it, we overcompensate. We send messages wrapped in kindness, but built on fear. But here's the paradox. What you hide still leaks. You can write the perfect sentence, add the smiley, keep it light. But if the energy underneath says, "Please, see me, please validate me, please don't leave," she feels that and she steps back. Not because you're broken, but because your energy says, "I'm not okay unless you answer." And that's not attractive, that's not connection, that's emotional pressure. Here's the turning point. You have to stop texting like you're asking for permission to exist in her world. You have to stop speaking from your mask and start speaking from your center. Because the moment you try to earn her interest, you lose your grounding. But when you show up fully, without performing, without pleading, without hiding, something changes. Your words don't need to be perfect. They just need to be real and rooted. Because women don't want you to entertain them. They want to feel you. And the moment you start texting from truth, not performance, is the moment you stop getting ghosted. Not because your messages got clever, but because you finally showed up in them. So, what do you do instead? If being nice isn't enough, if polished, polite, predictable messages are falling flat, then how does a real man, connect? You don't need longer texts. You don't need fancier emojis. You don't need to copy-paste love quotes from the internet. What you need is to speak from the center of your emotional truth, not from need, not from performance, but from presence. And here's the key. Leave space. Space for curiosity. Space for feeling. Space for her mind to fill in the blanks. This is what psychologists call an open loop, a sentence that sparks thought, emotion, imagination, without giving everything away. Let me give you a few examples. "I woke up from a dream with you in it, and it felt real." Notice that? It's not asking for a reply. It's not over-explaining. It just hangs there, like a window into something unspoken. Or this: "I saw something today that reminded me of you." Not sure why. It's not trying to be clever. It's not manipulating. It's simply honest and a little mysterious. And that mystery, that emotional spaciousness, is where true connection begins. Because when you leave room for her to imagine, to feel, to wonder, you invite her in. Instead of chasing her down, you're not begging, You're not performing. You're not flooding her inbox. You're offering a moment, a pause, a thread of energy she can choose to follow, or not. And here's the beautiful part. You're okay either way, because the goal of connection is not control, not validation, not proof that you still matter. The goal is to show up as a man who's already whole and to let your message carry that. When you text like that, you're not reaching out from loneliness, you're reaching out from presence, and presence is magnetic. So, what if she never stopped replying because of what you said? What if she stopped replying to the man you were pretending to be? Let me ask you something. When you send a message, who's really speaking? Is it you? The grounded, centered man who knows who he is, even when no one claps for him, even when the phone stays silent? Or is it your persona, the polished version of yourself, trained to be agreeable, thoughtful, pleasing? So you won't be rejected. Carl Jung called it the mask we wear to survive in society. And over time, if we're not careful, we start confusing the mask for the man. But women, especially women with depth, they don't fall in love with the mask. They fall in love with presence, with soul, with truth. And the truth is, if you're always texting from your persona, you may never let her meet the man behind it. Now let's talk about the shadow. The parts of you were told not to show, the fear of not being wanted, the ache of being left, the hunger for someone to finally choose you. We all carry that, and most of us, as men, we bury it because we were taught to be strong, unshakable, unfazed. But that silence, that pretending, it doesn't protect us. It makes us invisible. Because when you send a message, not just a text, but a piece of yourself, and it comes from fear, from hiding, from the shadow you refuse to face, the person on the other end feels it, even if they don't know why. They may pull away, not because they don't care, but because they sense the disconnect between your words and your soul. And here's where the turning point lives. Jung called it individuation. The lifelong process of becoming your whole self, not the image, not the performance, not the wounded child in a grown man's suit, but the man who has faced his shadow, acknowledged his wounds, and now walks with all parts of himself, unapologetically. This isn't about texting better. It's about living more truthfully. When you stop trying to be perfect and start being present, everything changes. You become less interested in saying the right thing and more committed to saying the real thing. You don't text to earn love. You text because you are love. And you're simply offering a moment of presence, not fishing for proof that you still matter. And here's the beauty of it. When you start showing up from your center, when your words carry depth, stillness, certainty, she might still leave. She might still not reply. You can't control that, but she'll never forget you. Because in a world you're full of noise, you became the silence that said something real. So I'll leave you with this. Maybe the reason she didn't respond isn't because she didn't care. Maybe she just never got to meet you, only the version of you that thought he had to earn her affection. And that version, he can rest now. Because the real you, the whole man, the imperfect but powerful soul, underneath it all, he doesn't need to be chosen. He just needs to show up. Let me ask you something. Have you ever sent a message from your heart and waited all day for a reply that never came? Have you ever read your own words again, wondering if you were too much or not enough? Maybe it wasn't even about her. Maybe that message was a way of asking the world, can anyone still feel me? And if that's ever been you, you're not alone. There are thousands of men out there, just like you, who've loved deeply, waited silently, and lost parts of themselves trying to be the right man. But maybe now, it's time to stop being the right man and start being the real one. If this message hit something in you, if you saw even a glimpse of yourself in David or in the silence between the texts, I invite you to share your story. Drop a comment, one sentence, one truth. just right. I used to text to be loved. Now I text to be real. And if you're on this journey of becoming, of reclaiming your voice, your depth, your presence, then subscribe. We're just getting started. Land like pressure, if sent from insecurity, even the most beautiful messages. Because here's the thing. She said it felt like too much, too fast, like he was trying to earn intimacy instead of letting it grow. It overwhelmed her. But honest truth? Sweet? Maybe. Good morning, beautiful. I hope today brings you peace, joy, and laughter. I woke up thinking about our conversation last night, and I just want to say how grateful I am that you exist. Stuff like, so he'd write these long, poetic paragraphs every morning. He thought the best way to show interest was effort. There's Mark, 52, newly back in the dating world after a long, cold divorce. And David's not the only one.